Hi YouTube, just as a quick kind of intro to this video, I wanted to explain something. I've rearranged the clips to kind of make it easier to follow as as I was doing the job. It's the first time I've done it, so I made some mistakes as we went along. Now obviously you won't have to as a result, but I've rearranged the clips to kind of show how I would actually do the job if I was to do it again, so that makes a bit more sense. Now this is just a clip of the car. Once it's done, you can see there's no kind of error codes or faults or anything, so you'll be fine. I've got a Mini Cooper S, Mini Countryman Cooper S, however you pronounce it. It's a R60 anyway, with an N18 engine. So the later model is 2013, this one. We'll be doing the timing chain on it. The timing chain's actually slipped, it's come off. I did open it up previously, so I know it's the guiders have broken and things in there. So I'm going to be, when they're doing the chain, I'll have to obviously take the sump off, so I'll be doing that, putting a new sump gasket on it. I'm going to be checking the head as well, so I'll be taking that off. So this is going to be a multiple number of jobs in one video. And yeah, we'll see how we get along. Just try and take the head off to start with, so I can get that sent off to be checked, and then I'll kind of do the timing chain side to coincide with when the head will be back, because there's no point me putting the timing chain on, because I'll have to just adjust it all up again. So yeah, that's kind of what I'm going to do. So first and foremost, I believe what I'm going to need to do is actually take the front end off, because to get to this turbo, I'm going to see how much space I've got once I've removed all of this here. So this crash bar, this driver's side headlight needs to come out anyway, so I might be taking that off. Take this off, probably remove this grille, and then I'll see how much space you get in there. There's not a lot, but I need to get to all the bolts down there and things, so we'll see kind of how it works out. I need to take the exhaust manifold, the inlet manifold, this cover will come off, so yeah, a few things. So yeah, what I'll do actually is we'll take these panels off first. So there's this crash bar and this one here, and then we'll see how much space we have left kind of behind here, to kind of get through to the exhaust manifold. First thing I'm doing is removing the headlight on both sides, because I want to get to this. So 10mm bolts, one there, one there, one there, one just there, and I've loosened the 10mm on this. I've taken that one off. These, I believe they're probably 13mm, so I'll be taking those off next. Same for both sides, because I want to get this whole bar out, and obviously that. So yeah, just following on from the headlight, didn't realise this headlight washer was in there. It's actually my first time doing this as well, so yeah, I didn't realise this headlight washer was in there, so the pipe for it anyway. So what you do, pull this back, those tabs actually latch onto the pipe in there, so as you can see, once I pull those back they come out a little bit, and you just got to give it a bit of a twist and pull it out. So yeah, 13mm bolt. There's a T30 Torx bit here, one there, one there, one there. I've taken them out, I've got them here. So T30 Torx bit, 10mm bolts there, and a T30 there, a T30 there, and this headlight bolts out, and then I've taken these two 13mm out, and that does pretty much loosen up. Well, once I get these two off, that should loosen up this bit here. Oh, and I've just got to remove that. The clip in there for the windscreen washer. And some T20 Torx bits, which go in these little holes here. There's one there, there's 3 or 4 on each side. So there's these 15mm bolts down up here. Then there's some 13mm ones down here, which you have to get to from the back. Then there's a 15mm, which is just behind. Over here, you have to do it from the back. So the air ducts from here, I've had to take those off and push these wheel arches back. And yeah, so I've taken both the headlights out, washer fluid tank out, and this has just come straight out now. So yeah. Right, so just following on from what I've had to do, taking off the front end. I obviously moved the vehicle inside because the weather's just been bad. Well, I moved it to a bit of a more sheltered area. I've still got no roof here, but it'll do enough to keep me away from the wind, and I'll just have to pick the drier days to carry on with the job. So that what you also want to do is just take off the battery, disconnect the battery, because I just realised the alternator is quite close. Yeah, I'm just going to take that off, disconnect that. The battery's obviously just over here. FYI, on the heat shield for the turbo, or the manifold up here, there was, I believe it was 6 10mm bolts. So 1, 2, 3, and then there's another 3 towards the bottom end, which were there. 6 bolts, I believe it is, and then that came off. One of them was quite bad, so I had to struggle with that one for a bit, which is why I've had to do the whole thing with the front end. So yeah, we'll see how we get along from here. So what I want to do is actually take off the this exhaust manifold, obviously, but for that I'm going to have to take off the downpipe there. This sensor is actually stuck on there quite tight, so I'm going to try not to disturb that, be as minimalist as possible. Now with the downpipe, there's this heat shield there, which I think is held on by about 4 or 5 bolts. I'm going to see if I can, it looks like there's a bit of space there, so at the bottom, so I'm going to see if I can get in there without having to move this front panel off. So to give you an idea, so there's one that's just here. Let's see if I can get my finger in there. There's one, just that one there, not very clear, but there's that one, and then there's the one that's just above that, a bit further up. I believe they're about 10 mils, and yeah, we've got to take those 2 off, and then the same for the other side. And then we've also got this clamp here holding on the downpipe. Just something I forgot to mention, there's 2 16mm bolts just outside the shot here, just outside the screen. There for the downpipe. They're worth taking off now, or at least putting WD-40 on, because you need to take them off with the downpipe. And there's the sensor here. I'm going to see if I can just remove the heat shield, and then if that allows me to kind of push the downpipe back far enough away from the exhaust manifold to be able to take it all out. I don't think it will, but I'm going to give it a shot anyway. And I've taken off the 4 bolts for this heat shield. In all honesty, there's 2 ways of doing this. Yes, you can do it without taking the front end off, but it's bloody hard. There's not a lot of space in there at all. I would say if you've got power tools, then yes, you're probably okay. But if you're using like kind of manual tools like me, you're probably better off taking the front end off, just because by the time you've loosened these bolts up and things, you're probably just going to be making your life that much easier to take the front end off. And obviously it gives you a lot more access. Now what I've actually done though is I've not taken the entire front end off, so I loosen these bolts here now, because I've just put these back on, I've just had those on there just to kind of hold everything in place. So these are the 15mm bolts. Kind of, that's all I've got on there at the moment. 2 on that side. And I think I've got 1 on this side. There's no reason why I've got 2 on one and 1 on the other. It's just wanted to make sure it was stable. That's all in all honesty. Right. So that was a moment of truth. If I just pull this forward a little bit, it gives you just about enough room to be able to. Obviously, I've taken off the thermostat pipe, and yeah, it's come forward a little bit, and I think it'll probably give me a little bit more room just to get this heat shield off. The other way of doing it is obviously loosen up the heat shield. These 3 bolts on here, take those off, and then you can obviously loosen the down pipe from below. Loosen that up, the whole down pipe comes off. Take the heat shield out, you take the exhaust manifold off. What I'm actually going to try and do is just take the heat shield out now and loosen up these bolts and see if I can get away with, well, it's a bit more wishful thinking, but see if I can get away with just maneuvering the exhaust out the way a little, or the down pipe out the way a little bit. As I said, I don't think that's going to happen, but we'll see how we get along. Right then, so it's worked. The bolts holding the down pipe have come off. They're what are they, 13mm bolts holding the well, in my case, which has actually helped me quite a bit, they came out with the studs, so they've just come out just like that, which is another issue I'll have to kind of address later on, but nevertheless, they have come out. That's meant this, well, you'd probably get enough room, or maybe you won't. There's 2 16mm bolts holding in the down pipe at the bottom. Once they're off, just kind of push this down, we'll kind of pull it outwards, and it should come off. Yeah, so that's kind of worked. We'll see if it'll work all the way, because I've still got to get the turbo off, but sorry, the exhaust manifold off. I can see some stuff getting in the way, but I think this might just work out. So yeah, so there's 2 16mm bolts at the bottom, and you've got the 13mm bolts holding these in, or holding the down pipe into the turbo. And yeah, so next what I want to do is take off obviously everything holding on the turbo, so these pipes will come off. You've got these oil lines here, coolant lines, and then there's an oil feeder pipe. So yeah, there's a few things. There's one back here that's got to come off. Those will come off, and then the bolts holding the the nuts holding the exhaust manifold. So yeah, first done that. This bolt comes off. I believe that's a 17mm, and these 2 here, they're 19mm. I'm taking this pipe off for the intake, which is just here. There's a plug on that, and a couple wires kind of clipped into it. Those come off. And then just below that you've got this vacuum line, which was routed through here, so you just want to make sure obviously when you put that on it goes back the right way. And then you've got this little plug over here, this one here. I'm just about to take that off, I believe. We should be able to just do that from here. Yep, there you go. So that comes off. As an FYI, by the way, this blue plug just here, this is connected to the down pipe. So if you do end up taking the down pipe off, then just make sure you take that one off. So yeah, we've got these coolant lines off. looks like we should be okay soon enough to take it all out. So yeah, let me start now. I'll start loosening the exhaust manifold, which there's 3 there. There's one just behind over here, just over there, which there's basically 2 over there. There's one there, and then there's one just below. Can't get it into the camera, but there's one just below that. Oh, I think you can probably just see it just there. So there's one bolt that you have to, one nut, sorry, that you have to take off from taking an extension straight through here, and it goes above this arm, and then the next one is below that arm. At least I think that's how it is anyway. And then yeah, it's just a case of taking off all these lines, and the exhaust manifold should just be coming off. Turbo off, I've got that put away. So just as an FYI, with a job like this, I always like to put the bolts back into wherever they've come out from. So I've put the bolts for the coolant lines and the oil lines and these exhaust manifold bolts. I've just put them in there, just a few threads by hand, just so they're in a nice safe place, they don't go missing or anything. The last thing I didn't mention was this pipe at the bottom. It's an 8mm nut on there, 8mm bolt on there, but it's at such an awkward position. I had to come at it from the bottom, because the kind of bracket that stabilizes the turbo that was there, the one, the 13mm, that was right next to it, and you can't, there's not, you know, there wasn't a lot of room to kind of see what you were doing and be able to get that socket on there exactly. And then you got these pipes and everything on the way, so yeah, I had to come at it right from the bottom with the 1/4 inch ratchet and extensions and 8mm socket, and then just had to kind of wiggle it all off, and yeah, that's that. So the next thing I'm looking to do is take out the thermostat, which I had this wiring loom and some vacuum pipes and things. So first and foremost, you got, well, let's start with this plug. This plug comes out. Oh, focus in there. So yeah, that plug, literally there's a, push that in, push the tab in, that comes out. This wiring bit was plugged in under here. Well, I'm actually going to keep these units in there, just because I don't really want to disturb them. The guy hasn't asked me to take these out, so I'm going to leave them in there. He may well later on ask me to take them out, but yeah, we'll see. So yeah, I've left those in there, and taking that one out, you've got some of these wires over here. I've just shifted things out of the way. You've got these pipes over here, so you've got a couple of vacuum pipes, these 2 here. One of these vacuum pipes came off of just here as well, so that one was just on top over there. So yeah, I've shifted a few of these things out the way, just finding new homes for everything, new temporary homes for all of these at the moment, just so they don't get in my way really. I've got this plug at the back in here, taking that out. Oh, there was a pipe on here as well, just on the back, which I've put just back here. So that's a fuel pipe in there, which there's just these 2 clips, one on that side, one on that side. Press them in, and that comes out. Tabs on them, nothing too technical. Then with this whole wiring bit, so you got, there's these bits under here where they're just pushed in. So if you can see that, so yeah, just where my thumb is, that bit there, that's pushed in there. So I just literally pull that one out, and you got another one over here. Pull those 2 out. Yeah, that whole bit comes off. Then you got some 10mm bolts on the actual thermostat, which I'll try and show you now. So one I've taken out, if you can see just over there. That used to be a 10mm bolt, which I've taken out. One I'm halfway through just taking out. If you can follow through, that's my kind of extension going through. And see if I can. Oh no, you won't be able to see it from there. So let's try and show you. So it's just over there. One more towards the back, just over there. That one there. So I believe that's the next one. So to give you an idea, right towards the back, there's a couple of the pipes there, and in between them you've got the other bolts. So yeah, so there's the top one, to give you an idea. I'm going to take the intake manifold off next. So I've loosened up this pipe over here, this bracket. I'm just going to take these Torx. I think that's a T25 Torx, I'm guessing. And you can kind of see what exactly. There's a lot of plugs and things around there, so I'll take this plug off. I've taken this line off already. So airbox came off with that. I think it was a T25. There's not a lot to that, to be honest. It's pretty much self-explanatory. That just pretty much came off. There's a few grommets where it sticks in. You got this one here, and I believe there's two at the back. It just comes straight off. You got a plug on here, which this one here just comes straight out, and then you got these 11mm bolts. 13mm bolts. They'll come out of here. And the main reason why I wanted to make this video here is because there's a 10mm at the bottom. So you have to take the charge pipe off, the intake pipe over there, and then there's a 10mm, which, if you can imagine where my extension's going, I've actually had to look at it from. I've had to take the wheel off and kind of get out under there, and I was actually underneath the car to find out where it is. I tried going at it from the wheel side, but no luck, and now you can see I'm doing it this way around. So yeah, it's literally just below the airbox there, but I had to put the extension on from underneath, and then because there weren't enough space to kind of tackle it from below, I'm now gonna take the bolt off from there. So once you've taken that off, there are quite a few plugs. I should have probably filmed this, but didn't really think there would be that much under here. So nevertheless, yeah, it's that 10mm bolt. Once you've got that 10mm there, there's where it kind of attaches onto. Once you've got that 10mm out, and you've got these 13mm bolts, these ones out, it pretty much detaches, and then you've got a bunch of things you've got to take off underneath. There's this kind of, this whole thing's kind of clipped on. So that bit there, it slides on and slides off. Probably need a bit of WD-40, but that's attached. This plug's on there, which you lift this tab over here, and then it pulls off this way. You got this line on one of the pumps there, and I believe, no, I think that wasn't attached. There was another plug or so. Oh yeah, so you got this plug on there as well, which pretty much just comes off quite easily. So yeah, there's a few things under there. Take those off, and you're pretty much sorted from this side. And then while you're there, you've also got this whole kind of wiring assembly, or wiring loom, or whatever you want to call it, to take off. And if you can see, it's held in by these little clips over here. So yeah, we want to take those out. There's one there. Well, there's that over there on the other side. You got to take those off as well. So you got to take out these plugs as well. That wire there, that plug going in. So we've just got this valve cover to take off next. So these 10mm will come off around it. that one there, I've loosened them all up. There's one there, this one here, this one here. There's a sensor on here, there's a sensor over here. There, here's the wires and everything. That one comes off there, just a pull tab on the top, and that one from there. Move that out of the way, and you got this little earth wire from here, which sits on there. So there's a 8mm nut holding on the earth wire, and then below that there's another. I'll put the 8mm back on, but to give you an idea, yeah, sorry, that's the 10mm, and this 8mm sits on top. And these, the coil packs, I've taken most of them off. You literally just lift the tab, you've pulled the wire out, obviously, pull them up, there you go, and they should just come out. I'm going to number these 1, 2, 3 and 4, just to make sure they go back in the right one. Actually, so I've lined up these cams. Even though I'm going to be taking these off, I just wanted to see where my timing was at, and basically from what I've seen, these bits over here, the writing on both camshafts, when they're pointing up, the timing's in line. Your timing's only going to serve a purpose at the moment, that I wanted to see if the timing had gone out. And in all honesty, I used the tool here that you have. So I got this thing off of eBay. You need this for this job. So this kind of sits over these cam points here. So you've got one which sits just over here, which it won't sit at the moment because it's all not lined up 100%, but basically what those do is tell you if the cams are 100% lined up. And there is a little bit of leeway in there, bit of, well, I should say tolerance, but it's not much, so it's only very minimal. Nevertheless, mine weren't lining up properly, so it seems like, I don't know, maybe the chains maybe skipped a tooth or two, but they weren't 100% lining up, and I just wanted to see exactly where they were, which basically tells me, yep, something's obviously gone wrong. So nevertheless, I marked down the points on this anyway. You can see there's one there now. Put one there, put one there. They're not bits that will actually come into contact with anything, and they're not the best marking points. Like you can see, I've got one here, which is, that's how this should really be. Probably not so thick, maybe a bit of a thinner line, but something like that's probably a bit better. But those are just for me to see like how far out the timing was, if anything at all. So I'm gonna, still take the head off and just check everything. But in theory, if your timing was all lined up and everything here, you could argue that potentially the valves or anything wouldn't have been damaged. But as good practice, if you're going to come this far, I would probably say just take the head off anyway. There's not much to it, which is what I'm going to do next. So I've taken this mount off. So I've put a jack underneath to support the sump. Got a plug cord in there, supporting the sump there. That's just going to hold the engine up for the time that this is out. And then over here you've got some bolts holding everything on. So you've got two mounts. So you've got one over here. So you've got this nut here, which is an 18mm, holding that one on. And then you've got these, which I believe are 13mm sockets. Let me just double check. Oh no. Yeah, sorry there. Yeah, so they're 13mm sockets. So 1, 2, 3, 4 13mm, one this 18mm, then you got this earth wire, which I'm actually leaving on, to be honest. So let's take these out. That'll come off. 4 of those points there. Now because of that earth wire, I'm just looking to place it carefully so it's not stretching this wire off too much. And then over here you've got this 16mm bolt, and then you had these 13mm over here. Those come off. Put that over here, and the 16mm comes off. Then you can remove that bracket. Sorry, that mount. And then you've got a bit more space over here. What I want to do next is kind of take off the alternator belt as well. So, well, not take the belt off, I just need to take the pulley off at the bottom. So what I actually need to do here is just take this pulley off at the bottom. This one here. So what I've gone ahead and done is, because it'd be much easier to do at this point, is just loosen these Torx bits. Now that's I think it was N18 Torx, which I didn't have. I had to end up using an 8mm socket, which, you know, if you want to do it at your own risk, obviously. But that's what I had to do for lack of anything else. And then you got the 18mm bolt in the middle there. So I've just loosened those up at this point. And I just want to loosen up the alternator belt of the serpentine belt, to be able to kind of then get off that bottom pulley. And then from there I've pretty much got most things off for the head that I need to. And the tensioner at the back, just over here it will be, it's 27mm. I've just taken it out, but I thought I'd mention it. So to reduce the tension on the serpentine belt, what I've done is this bracket here is for, sorry, this goes down to the tensioner. That's a 30mm kind of, call it a nut end or whatever, which I've used to release the tension on the serpentine belt. So you can see it's all, well, you can see now. Yeah, so that's all loose. So what I've done is that little thing there, if I can get this to focus, so that little thing there, that little, whatever it is, I've pulled that out from underneath. There you go. That's the that just has some friction on that gear or something. And then I've taken the drive belt out at the bottom as well. So that's just those. Again, I think it was the E10 reverse Torx. I've just used an 8mm socket because I haven't got one. And that's your alternator belt off there loose. And yeah, next thing we've got to do, I'm taking the cams out because the person I'm taking this head to wants them without the cams. So these 8mm bolts here on each, those will come off, and these two 8mm bolts here that I would loosen out. I've done one already, and you can see what's happened with mine. So this is part of this guider at the top, which is broken off, and that's kind of what the problem is in mine. And I'm not sure exactly what's happened with the rest of it. Can't see in there too well yet, but yeah, that's kind of what's happened there. So yeah, I'll take those bolts off. Let me take the cams out, and then from the bottom you've got the 18mm bolt that you're going to take out, and that'll allow you hopefully to pull out the gear from the bottom. So yeah, let's see how we get along. So I've got one of the cam shafts off, so those 8mm have come out. I've taken So yeah, that's how I've put them. They're all numbered, so you want to make sure I've just kept all of them, each bolt corresponding to each hole I've kept in that order. And then yeah, so what I'm going to do next is I've taken off this other engine bracket, engine mount as well. So you've got a Torx bit in there. So there's one of these bolts, these Torx bits for the guider in behind this little piece here. So what I've done, because I don't want to take the whole thing off and it's very, very tight, there's a 10mm here which comes out very easily. Now bearing in mind I've got the car jacked up with the on the sump, and I've had to lower it and raise it a few times to be able to do this properly. But if you can see, this 10mm bolt and that one up there, and there's one just that one there. I've had to do the top two from the top, and I've totally taken this one out here. I've left the top two in there so it's still attached, just because they're so awkward. If you've got a air ratchet or something, you might just be able to get in there, but it's really, really tight. And obviously because the car's without the mounts and things, I don't want to take off too much. So there's one of those guider bolts, Torx bolts, one in here, and then the one I showed you earlier at the top. So taking those out. Here they are. They're the two that I've taken out. Now it should all be loose in there. I've left the top guider bolt in there because I wanna take that out from the top last. So we do that one now, just so I can pull it all out. So yeah, I've got that out. Obviously the chain's still holding these bits up over here. So E12 Torx bits to take the head off here, and then you got E10s on the side, I believe it is. Those two over there, one's there, and yeah, we'll use those. We'll take those out and we'll see how we get along. At the back, you need to pull out the sensor. I'm going to show you what you need to do. So you've got that T30 Torx bit holding in that sensor there. Take that out, and that gives you the space that you need to get into taking off that reverse Torx, which I believe is going to be an E10, because it looks like one of the smaller ones. So let's take a look. So you can see this is what the block was looking like. It needs obviously a good clean over. I'm using EGR cleaner, carb cleaner to kind of clean it all down, and just using a normal wire brush, and just getting in and out, moving the pistons up and down just to get everything in there. And here you got a picture of the end result. Now once you've done all of this, it's time to line up all the pistons in the middle with cylinder 1 getting ready to fire. So once you've got the pistons kind of lined up, you want to put this locking wheel, locking kind of tool in, which is just over here. So if you can imagine, here's the exhaust coming, here's the gearbox just over here, there's the shaft coming out of the gearbox. If you look just over here, I've had to use the small locking pin. There's two holes here, one at the bottom, one a bit higher up, right at the top. That goes in. Now there's a specific hole that it'll go into, and once, it doesn't even take a lot of pressure, so you can see. So you can see it's actually fairly easy to move in there, and once it's in, it'll just stay in that position. Here's a picture I stole off the internet just to make life easier for you. Now, for lack of a better tool, I'm having to use this socket holder. It would be good to kind of use a measuring tool, a proper kind of ruler or something, but something with a flat edge at the bottom, and then some way of being able to measure from the top. So I'm just pushing this down, putting it up there, and then pushing it all the way to the bottom, so the piston, you can see, is there. I've got it on a flat edge. This is against the wall. Just be careful, you don't want to damage anything. Push that all the way down, and then just measure that up on all four. I want to make sure that doesn't move. There we go, perfect. Perfect. And perfect. And just go back to one. Sorry if I haven't caught this in the camera, but I'm trying to do it with one hand. There you go. And they're all the same, it hasn't moved. From what I've seen anyway. So here's the head back. This is obviously the underside of it. I've had my valves all seated, lapped, cleaned up basically, and the head's been skimmed. One thing I didn't show, just because it wasn't coming off, is this fuel rail. I took this off afterwards. There's just these bolts in here. I took this off afterwards. If you remember, the plugs that were on the fuel rail were on there, and the fuel rail just wasn't coming out. So there's these Torx bolts that weren't coming, that hold in the fuel rail. So yeah, once, obviously, if you can get this out with the head on there, then those plugs come off a lot easier. However, for me it didn't work, so I had to do it this way around. So I'm just going to put that back on now, just because it'll be a lot easier. The plugs will just be easy to just slot on, and I'll assemble what I can with this head here and now, and then put it back all back on. I also took off a couple of things there, so there's fuel pump and just basically the ends of the intake and exhaust cams basically were there. Those are off. I'm going to put those back on afterwards. And yeah, that's pretty much it. I'll start assembling this all up. So next, I'm going to put the head gasket on. Straight on. Obviously make sure, well, you would have done this already, because I would have measured up the old gasket, what was left of it, with this one. It looks like in this as well, you've actually got the tightening sequence in there as well. So I'll double check that in there. Oh, by the way, you can see in the bores, I've put some oil in there. Cleaned it all down with carb cleaner again, and then I've oiled it all up just to make sure it lubricates properly. That should come out pretty much once you start the car up and things. But I'll go through something with that as well. So head gasket on next, and then the head should go straight on. You can see with mine, these two valves, they're still sticking out. I've got to sort the timing out, obviously. But yeah, you just want to make sure nothing. The reason I've got the head this way around is, as I was advised, is don't let any pressure go on these valves, because the valve stem seals are they'll probably break, crack. I'll show you my valve stem seals actually. So here's my seals, and as I was advised, these are meant to be soft, and these are rock hard. You can't do anything with them. So obviously no good. This This is a picture of the tightening sequence and the instructions that were as part of the head gasket pack. So give it a good read. Here's the top side of the head, all assembled up. He's put it back together, obviously. I'll lube up a few things in there. But I trust the guy I've used. FYI, the other thing he did advise me is that 8mm there, and then the 2 at the back. Those, once you loosen those, the whole thing comes out as a mechanism. All these bits are on correct as well. You got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. So yeah, that's all good. Obviously I've got to time this up and get the bits and pieces back. So that's kind of where we are with that. Now as per the instructions, I'm going to oil up the head bolts. Got those in just over here. So here's my new ones. And I oil them up. However, these didn't come with any washers. So what I'm going to do is just use the washers on the old ones. I will, however, clean these up. And if you can see, that ring there shows that that's the top of the washer and that's the bottom there. So the bottom side's clean. So yeah, I'll use the washers from there. And then obviously I've counted the bolts, the 13 in total. 10 kind of long ones, 2 kind of medium sized ones, which are these 2 here. And then you've got one last one just there. Yeah, so I'll just literally replace the washers from those, from the old bolts into these, and you should be using new ones. There's a tightening sequence and things as well, and these are one-time use only bolts as well. So the head's all tightened down. I tried to make sure I use the right procedure, but taking a look at it, there's a few people have done it differently, so I've just done my own kind of thing. Obviously you work from the middle outwards, so I think it was 1, 2, or it was 1, 2, yeah, I think it was 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, and then 11, 12, and then I left the last one right at the end, and then I just done another round of this. So obviously you tighten these to, I think it was 30 Newton meters, the head bolts, the long ones. The middle ones I believe were 50, I'm doing this off of memory now, so 15 Newton meters. You do one round of that, then one round of 90-degree turns on all of them, including those ones there, and then another round of 90-degree turning all of them, and then I've done the one at the end, this one under there, right at the end. That was 25 Newton meters. That was just the one setting for that. And now I'm going to start putting on the intake manifold and things. I'm putting this fuel pump back here as well. So this is, I believe it was N8 reverse torque splits, 3 there. Got a pipe on the back that goes on there, just that one, and then this pipe at the back, and then you can put the intake manifold on. Or you can put it just makes your life a lot easier if you do it that way around. So yeah, that's what I'll be doing next. Basically what I'm doing is working towards putting the timing chain on next, so I'm just going to start boxing this up. Basically the next step is we want to take the sump off, so I'm going to replace the sump gasket, which I've actually got conveniently sitting there. Replace the sump gasket. Now to take the sump off, I need to put the engine mount back on. To do that, I've obviously got to do all the timing chain and everything, so I'm going to do all of that, and then yeah, we're pretty much towards the end of the job. So for the next bit, I'm going to assemble the timing chain guides and everything and put the chain on, and then we'll be looking to put this all into the engine. So the main thing is obviously assembling this bit. So how this will kind of work is that needs to line up in there. So these kind of open up Obviously it is just plastic, you don't want to put too much force on it. As we know, these aren't exactly the strongest material. The chain kind of goes in, I believe this gear should be sitting down here, the chain will go around it, in through these two gaps and onto the guides, and then you got the vanos units at the top. So let's take a look. So an important bit to know, and there's these kind of lock-in tabs that sit in there. You have to kind of make sure these are clipped in. So if you can take a look, if you see these, see those tabs there, they have to kind of interlock with each other, and you have to make sure obviously this sits flush. It's on both sides. So you've got the same on this side. You just want to make sure they're flush on both sides. Once you've got them in, okay, put this kind of together. Push this together, and you should be able to just slide the chain in. So I've put the chain back in there. It's not fully tightened up yet, because I'm going to change up my crank seal as well. So I actually got new vanos units with mine as well. So because obviously I knew my chain had slipped, and there was a few starting attempts and this and that on it as well. So I was worried the gears might have been worn out or something. So I just changed them just for peace of mind. It saves me having to do the job again. They came with the kit. And I've got the new chain on there. Now, what I want to do is take this out. You want to make sure obviously you don't bend anything. Well, that doesn't feel very strong at all anyway. FYI, I had to grip the inside of it with a Mo grip in the end. That's what's left of it, and yeah, it wasn't coming out too easily. So obviously it was in that way. I used a Mo grip just to grip the inside, because there's actually metal in there. Grip the inside of that, and then I had to pull it out. Right then, so it's slowly coming together. So we've got the top kind of guider on. We've got the guiders on the inside on, obviously. I've timed it up and things. So in terms of doing the timing, I did have my timing tool on here. And ignore these marks a second. I'm going to redo these. Just to keep it old school, because I like to have the marks there. Anyways, so I've used the timing tool to check everything, taken the pin out from underneath. One thing I did have a bit of an issue with is the tensioner at the back. So you can see it's in there now. Now my tensioner that I've received with this kit is a lot longer than the one which I already had, about, I'm going to say at least an inch longer. Nevertheless, obviously with my kit, I think that's probably what's failed on my whole timing chain system. I reckon that was the reason for the failure. The chain feels very tight. I mean, there's no kind of play or anything in there, so I'm not sure if that's a bit too stiff. So that feels very, very tight. There's no play in there whatsoever. I will check into that, because I can't remember if you are meant to have not too much, but just a slight bit of slack in there. Nevertheless, so my tensioner is all tight and everything in there. Didn't come with any torque setting or anything, so I had to search far and wide kind of thing, and the only thing that I could realistically get was that it would be 48 foot-pound. So I've done it to that, tightened it all up. and I will just redo these markings on here. Got this pump back on here as well. So yeah, what I'm going to do next is put the engine mounts back on. I've got to tighten down all the mechanism for the water pump down there. Then once that's done, I'll probably give it another spin just to make sure the timing's in line, and then kind of take it from there. Next thing I want to do is from there I'll be looking to take the sump off, because I can get the jack out from underneath. So I'll take the sump off, get the oil all drained out, and then I'll look to start putting this all back together. So now working below the car, I'm taking the sump off. We've drained the oil, so you've got this kind of Allen key bolt in there to take the oil out. I did that overnight, to be honest. I left it as it was, and then now I've just come back. You've got these 8mm bolts around it, so you've got a few on this side, got those up there. Those just follow it around. The only ones that are kind of tricky are above this kind of downpipe here. Yeah, so you've got these kind of above the downpipe. Unless you take the downpipe off, you'll need kind of one of those angle sockets for attachments to be able to get off. So just as expected, there's a few bits of pieces in there. There's one there, and there's a few other smaller pieces. And what's left of the oil. That's probably some that's already come out in the oil drainer there. So yeah, that was worth doing. But yeah, once I've done that, I've got all the oil obviously drained out. I'm just going to check in there for any more pieces or anything that might be stuck in there, just to clean it all out. Might spray some carb cleaner, and then obviously you can see there's like bits of the old gasket left on there. I'm going to clean all of that up. Do the same for this. Make sure obviously the new gasket fits properly, and yeah, then we've got the oil filter to put on, which obviously we're doing a bit, and then that's everything as far as that's concerned. So one more thing that I'm doing, this cover on the oil pump chain, if you can see, there's a torque bit stuck in there. There's dropped from the cylinder head, and there's bits in there as well, which I've just taken out. All you do, you just put a screwdriver in here, flathead screwdriver, and prise this open. That should allow you to take this all off, just very carefully. Yeah, so a few little bits have just dropped on me. Yeah, clean this out as well. The sump all cleaned up. You want to obviously, well, I'm still going to wash out the inside of this, but the next bit essentially is to make sure your gasket matches up. So I suppose you could do that earlier on. So what I'm just doing while it's still in the pack is measuring up all the holes, so that would just slide on to there and kind of fit on. Let's go this way. Yeah, so you can see that would be going to go in there, so like that. Yeah, those look okay. And to your final side. There you go. Looks okay. So with this gasket, you've also got these grooves in here. So I'm actually going to do a bit of an OCD. I'm going to put that gasket on, and then I'll also be using this kind of a sealant, probably just a thin layer of it. It says it's okay for oil, coolant, water. Yeah, we'll give that a go as well on that. And yeah, then the 16 8mm bolts I've got to go on. I'm still going to wash it out on the inside. As you can see, there's still quite a bit of stuff that's kind of in there. And then yeah, we're on our way. The sump then, I've gone ahead, put the crank pulley back on, put the drive belt back on, and then release the tab on this friction gear just up there. So that thing there. I'm keeping the video quite brief from here, to be honest, because it is pretty much just a reverse of whatever we've already done, but just to show what I'm kind of doing step by step. The next thing, oil filter there, measured it all up. Make sure you get one of these sealing rings in there. That's all done. So yeah, I'm just going to change that over, and the next step we'll have is putting on the all the exhaust side, the turbo and everything, the intake pipes in now. Then we're ready to fire it up. Right then, so we're on to putting the turbo on, or the exhaust manifold. So we've gone ahead and started off with the this gasket heat shield kind of thing here, and then you've got these brackets that go on. So taking a look at these brackets, this is, from what I remember, this is how you put them back on. So if you can see that little kind of piece sticking out, that's on the outer bit, that one goes on there. Then you got over here, you've got this one, which is on like that, so that bit's sticking down. At least this is how I remember taking them off anyway, I think. Let's see, make sure for yourself. And then that one is on like that. You can see as well where the bolts have been sitting, where the nuts have been sitting. So that's on there like that. Tighten these two 10mm. I've taken the other 10mm out for the now this bit on mine, you can see, is already broken for the heat shield for the downpipe. So I've just left that one in there, and we'll put the turbo on, then put the downpipe back on, and that's pretty much it. Oh yeah, so if you recall, on these two studs, my nuts were actually stuck on there. So what I did was actually sprayed some WD-40 on the whole thing, screwed those in, used the nut that was stuck on there as kind of leverage to screw those studs in, and then I held the studs with like a mole grip, and I managed to loosen the bolts off. And the only reason I've done that is because these two are going to be a bit difficult to get onto when the turbo's on. So if I've done it that way, I should be able to get the nuts on there a bit easier. So yeah, let's take a look. Just with putting the turbo on, or even taking it off, if you recall, I had to take off this 8mm bolt just under here, and I had to do it right from the bottom. If you've got your front end off, you can actually see it. So it's just there, and use a short extension, 1/4" drive socket and ratchet, and you should be able to get to it a lot easier than doing it right from the bottom of the engine. So I've just gone ahead and given this valve cover a clean over. I'm going to do the rest of the pipes and things as well. It's not essential. I mean, it's not going to make a difference to your job really. I just like having a nice tidy engine bay. So Yeah, the reason I wanted to just highlight this bit is this gasket over here, you can kind of replace as well. I haven't, because I'll give it a test try. This car has been quite well maintained. I'm hoping this will be alright as well. It doesn't feel too bad. But yeah, so you just want to make sure these are the valve cover bolts, obviously, and they can slip out when you're taking it off. So you just want to make sure these rings are sitting on obviously this side of the gasket, so they come all the way through, and then you'll have to push the gasket back through the points so it comes out. Let me give you, yeah, so you can see not too much force on it, it'll just come out, and you just want to push it in, make sure they're all sitting in there flush. And you can go ahead and put the valve cover on. So we've got it all running now. I've given obviously during the day a bit of a clean up. It seems a bit shaky. I think that's probably because I had some oil in the pistons and things. It's not actually misfiring. I've revved it a couple of times. Yeah, apart from that, it all looks good and well. One last thing that I am doing because I had to top up the coolant. We took the coolant pipe out, so just running a temperature check on it. We've got the heating on full. I don't feel it warmed up too much yet, so there might be an airlock in there, but it's only on 50 degrees yet. So we'll give it a chance to warm up properly and make sure it's all running good and well. Apart from that, I'm quite happy with the job. There's probably a couple of things that I would have done differently. If we kind of go back outside. So just to, I mean, obviously it was the first time as I said, I was doing this, so things were a little bit, a bit of an experiment. There's some bits of oil coming out. It's a bit shaky. I have to double check the bolts and that, but yeah, so what I would probably do is this engine work this way around. So you take your turbo off, the exhaust manifold, take your bits over here off, and then the inlet manifold, and then come onto this side and do the timing chain. That's probably what I would do going forward. I mean, obviously within reason. Still got this to do. This is from the previous owner or whoever, really. I'm not sure, but I don't think that's even the right pipe, the right clamp, because the pipe was broken and things. So I'll have to get a new one of those. Yeah, apart from that, all good and well. I'm happy. Oh, the other thing I did do, I took the plug leads off and I cranked the engine a few times just to kind of get the pistons nice, because I've done this over a period of a few days. So I wanted to make sure obviously the pistons were nice and free, and the engine would have been all lubed up and things. This one I could probably do with a bit of yeah. Top up the screen wash. Oh, the other thing I would say is air tools or not, I would 100% say if I had to do this again, I'd definitely be taking the front end off, and I'd probably even take the radiator off, in all honesty. Just makes your life that much easier. That's pretty much it from me. Hope that helps. Here we go, so we can see it's all running good and well, no problems, no issues, no check engine light. Nothing on the dash there, and I will show you over here as well. Vehicle status, I think it's just got a bulb gone, but apart from that, yeah, there you go, it just needs a fog light and no other check lights. So yeah, fantastic. Full's all gone, and all gears, fantastic.